Hello, and welcome to Influence, the podcast with me, Matt Silverman, a guy who is obsessed with internet culture and the communities and the people who make a living, the people who make the stuff, the people who make the content, the people that influence us every time we open that app, that phone, that web browser. It's the greatest invention in human history, and like most human inventions, complicated, fraught, perilous and wonderful all at the same time. Thank you for hanging out with me, spending another week here on the podcast. And I have some fantastic guests coming up a little bit later in the week. I have a returning guest to this feed. He is an attorney named Paul Singer who works for the law firm Kelly, Dry, and Warren. And if you're a long time listener, you may recall Paul and his work and his voice. He has helped us untangle a lot of complicated internet legal issues like what is free speech on the internet? What is protected speech as it exists on social media platforms? What kinds of laws and regulations should we be putting in place around internet culture, not culture, but like, internet platforms and internet speech? How much protection is too much protection? We love talking with him. I think he's been on the show at least twice, if not more. And I did reach out to him again recently, and he'll be joining me next week. Well, we'll see. We'll see which order these episodes publish in. But he will be joining me to record next week because listener and patron and other folks who are members of the community and folks in the industry that I've been talking with, but specifically Bowie Barks in our Discord and Patreon subscriber. I believe Bowie is I know for a fact Bowie is a executive producer on the Patreon, and they mentioned they were responding to some of my comments about COSA and COPPA 2.0, which were proposed legislation that had momentum in, I guess it passed through the Senate and was making its way to the House. It had bipartisan support. And these were bills to kind of update the privacy rules for children using the internet. Historically, we've had rules around kids under 13 using the internet. These bills would expand those laws to all minors, 0 through 18 or 0 through 17, let's say. And the thing that got me most interested in these regulations was that it would force these platforms to turn off algorithmic suggestions and autoplay features on these on social media and social video apps, which I believe is it's a key part in deteriorating the mental health of all users, adults and kids alike, and for kids in particular, like the idea of kids just clicking on the next YouTube video, on the next short, on the next TikTok, and then going down a rabbit hole of content that may or may not be appropriate for them to see. And I don't mean that in like a, kids are gonna, it depends on the age. It depends on your parenting style. But here in this household, and we'll talk about it a little bit later in the show, we just don't allow unsupervised internet access, and all the autoplay stuff is off. And so our kids are allowed to watch certain channels and certain things, certain types of content. But we trust them and they trust us to have open conversations about it. So we don't put like filters or restrictions on it. We don't use YouTube Kids. So like if either of our kids wanted to Google, sexy things on YouTube or the internet, they can do it at any time, but they don't, because they understand the parameters of what they're allowed to do. Talk to me in 2 years, 3 years. We'll see what happens. But anyway, my point is that these bills seemed like a good idea. And I do think like some parts of them are they seem to me to be privacy regulation that we desperately need in the world, but certainly in the U.S. And as the news was percolating about these bills, Bowie Barks correctly points out in the Discord that many LGBTQ plus groups and other civil liberties organizations have been keeping a close eye on this legislation and citing that, like, hey, the legislation is so loosely and poorly written that it is maybe too broad. And then what else seems to be happening is that the right and the conservative side of the discourse seems to be peddling and weaponizing these bills as very much like protect the children, save the children from the scary internet. And I think the subtext of that is like, because they're not allowed to, we can't let them see that gay people and trans people exist and all this sort of stuff. And that obviously is shit. It's bullshit and it sucks. And it's not how we should be approaching the issue of kids and privacy and kids' mental health on the internet. So this is a long-winded way to say, like, I have been reading about it. We've been talking about it in the Discord. I have been Taylor Lorenz, who has been covering internet culture for New York Times, I think Wall Street Journal, a lot of different outlets for many years. She has her own podcast now, which is called Power User. It's great. I'm going to talk about that again in a moment. But she did a very interesting video about that there's this moral panic around kids and smartphones. And it's great. It's a great video. You should watch it. And I really do agree with 95% of what she's saying. That a lot of it stems from a book that was written by a particular author who has kind of a checkered past. And now we seem to be blaming all of our kids' mental health problems on TikTok and YouTube, et cetera. And, whenever there is moral panic, you always, I think it's good and important to take a sniff test and be like, well, what are we really talking about here? What are we, we used to be scared of rock and roll and elevators and teddy bears. And these are all real things. Another friend of mine had a fantastic podcast who covered all that. I do not think the internet is bad. I do not think that phones are bad. I do not think that social media is bad. But as we've covered on this feed many times, when algorithms are trying to addict you to content by showing you proverbial car crashes that you cannot look away from, and you must scroll to the next and you must scroll to the next, and each video and each item has no context and has no journalistic background and has no source, and then you have everyone, adults and kids, doom scrolling. We all do it, and it makes you feel bad. And kids whose brains are not developed will have a tough time. I used to produce a podcast with one of the co-hosts was an adolescent doctor. He works with teenagers as their physician. So, normal stuff, come get a checkup, height and weight, medications, etc. But he would also see and talk with teenagers about general things, mental health and their lives and things like that. And the perspective he brought to the podcast was alarming, to say the least, because these kids were really, really suffering. They were really, really struggling with addiction to these types of platforms and bullying, which is its own thing that is complicated and is worth talking about. And also the constant comparison. It was sort of like this 24/7, like peer pressure is hard enough in any setting, school, work, whatever, for kids, like teenagers especially. Now imagine if it was like 24/7 with everyone you've ever met, and also everyone who exists online, every influencer, every celebrity, every imaginable permutation of like, I wish I was good, I wish I was better, streaming into your eyeballs 24/7, including at 2 a.m. Like, I never want to. I'm not a moral panic person, and I'm not a things used to be better back in my day person. I never will be. I refuse to subscribe to those notions. But the points that they and other experts have made is like, this affects all of us, and it's new, and it's fairly unprecedented in terms of how our brains are wired, and how social interactions are processed. So anyway, the point is, there's a lot to cover, and there's differences between true mental health protection for everyone and kids versus moral panic, and who is weaponizing the panic, and who is at, whatever. So, shout out to Bowie Barks for bringing this to my attention. And also, I really struggled. I was reading, I think it's like Fight the Future. I get a newsletter, EFF, various, LGBTQIA plus activism organizations that I support and believe in. And all of the discussion was like, it's, the right wants to push it, check. It's so loosely worded that it can be anything, check. But I could not discern what specifically about the bills without reading the bills, which I'm going to be honest with you, I'm not fucking reading a bill. Yeah, I need an expert. I need a legal expert to explain what the hell's in this thing. Because even if I read it cover to cover, which I'm not going to do, I do not have the expertise to make heads or tails of it. But in all the coverage, I could not compute what it was specifically about the legislation that would harm marginalized communities and or marginalized kids, which we don't want to do. And my understanding was like, if we shut off the algorithm, as long as we are not censoring content, we can't censor content. That just, like, obviously from a free speech and a sort of equity point of view, like, that's never going to be the solution. My understanding of the legislation was like, we're not going to let, the algorithms decide what is important. We will let you search and follow and look at whatever you want, whether it's educational or psychotic or conspiracy. Like, you can go there and find it. But what I view as the problem is like, normal, moderate people who are living their lives are getting fed extremist and or dangerous content just by opening up YouTube, just by opening up Facebook. Things you did not seek out are coming into your feed. And I think people who are not trained to be literate are like, that's interesting. I never thought about that way. This Hitler guy, I don't know. Maybe he had some ideas. Those are my concerns. And so if you're turning off the algorithms for kids, then I think that solves a lot of stuff. However, and it's not a silver bullet. Let me be clear. Fucking parenting and community and education is always the solution to this problem. Full stop. Even if it's the Wild West. But we have to figure out some sort of comprehensive privacy legislation to address the issue for all of us. When TV started, networks and corporations literally just wanted to put beer and cigarette ads on cartoons. Like, they would have if they could have. And the government said, you know what? These are the airwaves, and these should be for everyone. And when Saturday morning cartoons come on, you can't put the beer commercials on. We're making rules to protect children. Children can go nuts and watch cartoons and watch action movies and whatever the fuck they want to watch. But like, there have to be parameters, because this can't just be whatever the fuck corporations want to do. So I guess what I'm saying is, if these bills restrict speech and or are being weaponized, then yes, of course, I agree with a lot of these activist groups, and I agree with Taylor's analysis, which is like, okay, they're bad bills and they need to be rebuilt from the ground up. We need better legislation. But if they're just about limiting algorithms and not restricting content, then I would like to understand what the issue is. I've heard it described as regulating content versus regulating design. You can regulate how the stuff gets to you, because if it gets to you in a harmful way, if I insulate my house with asbestos insulation, it will still keep my house warm, but it will give me cancer. So we have to say, no, don't do it this way, do it this way, because this way is not safe, right? It's like a product liability or a product safety. It's a product safety thing. And are algorithmic social media apps safe for mental health? Are they safe for free and honest public discourse in a democracy? These are sticky things. So the answer is I don't know what's going on with these bills. They're dead. They did not pass the House, or they did not pass the. Yes, I think they went through the Senate, didn't pass the House. Fact check me if I'm mistaken. I should look that up. I will look it up ahead of the conversation with Paul. But I said, Paul, hey, I need you back because you focus on this area. He covers legal issues in the digital realm and internet culture and stuff like that. He's been amazing. If you have not heard his episodes, I can tell you that they're tremendous. So I'm bringing Paul back to help me make sense of the controversy and also like what is actually in these legislations, and if they're bad, what should we do better? So I'm very much looking forward to that conversation. If you have thoughts or questions about that, or if you know with some certainty, or have great articles or videos that I should be watching in preparation for that, like, yes, lay them on me. Email, Discord, Patreon, shoot them my way, because I would love to have any context I can grab for that conversation with Paul. Also, if you have specific questions for an expert like Paul, I encourage you to send those in. The other thing I wanted to shout out is that I found someone who had made a mod, which is a modification, a change, a custom build of a very popular video game that I love. It's an excellent game called Balatro. It really got popular 3, 4, 5 months ago, maybe. Can't remember when it came out. It is a roguelike deck building game, but with playing cards, and the goal of the game is to make poker hands, and you're not betting chips, but you are trying to accumulate chips to beat the blinds, and it's excellent. It's a fascinating game because cards will modify your run, and then where it started out, you were struggling to score maybe 200 points. Now you're scoring 10,000 points in a hand, and then you're scoring 40,000 points in a hand. It's like, whoa, it balloons exponentially. It's very cool. Someone has made a mod to allow blind or sightless players to play this game, which is very visual. You have to look at the cards, you have to read the text to look at the value. And now they've built basically like a screen reader into the game to allow blind players to enjoy the game. And people there was a whole community that was very excited about this. They were very like, oh, we've been waiting for someone to do this, to make the game accessible to us. And they were thrilled. And I was like, this is so cool. I find this fascinating. How did this work? How do blind players get interested in these types of games? So I reached out to someone in the community who connected me with the modder himself, and I was chatting with him, and then we were figuring out how to do a show. And I was like, well, the modder is not blind himself. He is I don't know if he's a developer or a programmer, but he does this as a hobby. And I was like, I really want to include someone from the blind gaming community to talk to like tell us like what does accessibility mean, and what are the needs that are not being met by the video game industry, maybe are being slowly met by the community. And he connected me with 2 other people in that community One of which is a sightless video game player. He goes by Sightless Combat. That's combat with K, like Mortal Kombat. And he streams and plays extraordinary games that I love that are really, really complicated. Like they're hard for a sighted person to play, let alone someone who cannot see anything that's going on in the game. Factorio, which is a very complicated factory building automation game, and also Sea of Thieves, which is a pirate adventure multiplayer combat dig 'em up treasure kind of game. I love Sea of Thieves, but you're sailing on a ship, you're reading maps, you're finding, you're looking at maps to find charts of buried treasure, you're fighting skeletons. And somehow these accessibility mods have allowed blind players, or that we're using the term sightless, but also visually impaired, which may mean like a spectrum of, full sight, partial sight, legally blind, even though a person may still have some sight. Maybe they can't drive a car, but they could still read with glasses or look at a screen with specific assistance. And there's a whole world out there making these games accessible. So what went from like, oh, this is a cool little moment, to now is going to be a 3-person interview with these wonderful folks from the community. I'm really excited about that. Shared that in the Discord and the Patreon. If you are as curious and have as many questions as I do, please, again, email, Patreon, and Discord them to me, because I would love to include your questions on the show. Voicemail, 347-871-6548. Don't type your message out. Call the voicemail line and ask it on the telephone. Really excited about those 2 episodes. So they're coming up soon. One of those will go live next week. It depends which one we knock out first. But that is what's coming up. I'm going to take a quick break, but when I come back, two stories that are worth mentioning. One is the big one that I think you probably have not been able to avoid, and I did want to break it down and talk about it with you in a moment. So be right back. You know it's that time again to thank the executive producers at patreon.com/influencepod who support the show at the $10 or more level. Thank you to every single subscriber on the Patreon, whether that's $1, $5, maybe it's no dollars. You just subscribe to get updates, newsletter in your inbox of new episodes, upcoming guests, as we have just talked about here. And those executive producers, you got to thank them on air because they're beautiful people. They are William Duran, Dominic Kerr, Jerry Duran, Bowie Barks. You heard about them right up the top. And of course, Ken M. Thank you to everyone who supports the show. Even if you are not supporting financially, your listens, your likes, your subscribes, your tweets, I don't know, whatever it might be, your hearts, they mean a lot. They help the show. They help people find the show. Reviews, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, write a review. It lets people know that when they discover the show for the first time, and they do every single week, there's a community of listeners just like you, hanging out with me and these amazing guests. Thank you for the support, and now let's get back to it. I have returned to let you know that fake online reviews and reviews of products or perhaps restaurants that are made with artificial intelligence are now banned. They're banned by the FTC, at least in the United States. I actually would be curious how this affects the world at large. If certain, usually when privacy or other internet type laws happen in the EU, in Europe, all the global internet companies change what happens on their platforms because they're not going to make 2 different websites for Europe and the US. And so they say, guess what? You got to accept these cookies now, and we got to tell you when we're tracking you. So if the FTC in the US bans fake and AI reviews, I assume this will have ramifications for the globe. I don't know. We'll see. But it crossed my feed that all 5 FTC commissioners, that there's 5 seats, I guess, voted to adopt the rule, which will go into effect in mid-October. Quote, fake reviews not only waste people's time and money, but also pollute the marketplace and divert business away from honest competitors, end quote, says FTC Chair Lena Khan in a statement. This comes to me by way of CNBC.com. I think fake reviews were already sort of, obviously, if not frowned upon, but like illegal or gray area. But I think what's happening here is that they are now putting teeth behind the rule, so there would be fines for apparently each violation. So what's interesting here is that for if an e-commerce site is flooded with hundreds of reviews, thousands of fake reviews, they could be fined for each individual one, and that can add up really quickly. So I think it incentivizes platform holders, administrators, to say, hey, we can't engage in this for sure, but if we have sketchy users, sketchy sellers piping fake reviews into their little online shop on whatever that might be, Etsy, Amazon, Yelp, I don't know, then we are liable for that and could pay thousands and thousands, I don't know, maybe millions of dollars in fines for that content. This seems good. The other interesting thing, actually, one of the big reasons I pulled this out for the show was that this also, the rules apply to, fake reviews are already illegal. It also forbids marketers, this is a quote from CNBC, forbids marketers from exaggerating their own influence, for example, by paying for bots to inflate their follower count. So, like, in the same way that, like, hey, buy my widget, it has 1,000 5-star reviews and all of them are great. That is lying. And then also, hey, my widget has an Instagram page and it has 40,000 followers who heart every post. Therefore, my product must be good. That is also lying if those followers were purchased or generated by a botnet or whatever. So like this stuff has been going on forever, since the dawn of the internet. But I think generative AI is already / about to supercharge the fuck out of it. And I think like marketplaces and consumer watchdog groups and clearly the FTC are like, oh shit, like these websites will become unusable and the actual value of a product or a service will be so obfuscated by AI bots that it will be nearly impossible to determine where consumers should spend their money. Interestingly, I'm just thinking of this now in real time, and maybe this is always this. I feel, at least for me, as maybe we would call us, you and me, anyone who's listening to this, a savvy or sophisticated user of the internet. So if Joe Grandma, I'm sorry, I don't want to pick on grandmas, but we're going to use it as an example. If grandma goes to widget.com and sees that all the reviews are 5 stars, maybe she just assumes it's great and is going to buy it. But I think you and I know to Google that product and go to a third party something, maybe a trusted review site and or a trusted influencer that is rigorously testing or reviewing the product. And then even one step further, if you don't have a go-to influencer for widget X reviews, this is what I do, and maybe this is overkill. I will go to YouTube and look at the product reviews, and I will sort of scrub through a few of them to get a sense of like, is this person credible? Are they talking about the things that I care about that matter to this purchase? And so that is a very sophisticated use of, hey, how do I know if something's good online? And I guess the reason I'm saying that is because if this rule didn't happen and or is not enforceable, because how are we going to police every fucking fake 5-star review on every website known to man? Good luck with that. I don't know how that's going to work. But if the average e-commerce marketplace becomes untenable and unusable because of AI, will that push consumers to authentic, trusted creators for this information? Will it push them there more? That it's a pain in the ass for the consumer, but it is great for creators who are building credible, trustworthy content rather than like robot voice reading text over Photoshop of product image, which, pops up way too much on YouTube, and I'm sure other platforms. I'm sure you've found. You're like, hey, I wonder if this toaster is good, and then you click the video toaster review, and it's like, this toaster was made in 2007. It is good. Like, sifting through that shit is, we would like less of that. So this hits in October. I do wonder if the Amazons and Etsy's and Yelps of the world. I hear that Yelp is like really struggles with a lot of bullshit, fake reviews, and then that like a restaurant will. You open a restaurant, and even if you did not sign up for Yelp, Yelp will, someone could put your page on Yelp, give you nasty reviews, and then Yelp's like, hey, if you want to remove those reviews, you could pay us. And it's like, I don't know how substantiated that stuff is. I'd have to do actual research. But yeah, when's the last time you used Yelp to get credible information about anything? I don't know. I don't. Our top story today is one that's been ongoing, and I'm sure it's been difficult for you to ignore it. Well, look, I have been ignoring it a teensy bit, but it's popping up everywhere, and that is the ongoing controversies, plural, because it's a lot of stuff going on with MrBeast, who is quite literally the most famous internet content creator, influencer to ever walk the earth. Like, it's astounding how deep his celebrity goes, considering he has not, up until this moment, touched mainstream television, streaming, Hollywood, music, record industry, whatever. My kids love him despite our best efforts. And even as our kids got into his channel and started watching it, my observations were like, okay, as a video producer and studier of influencer culture, like, I knew some of this was highly produced, scripted. Faked is a strong word. We'll get into that in a moment. But I knew that these reality game shows were probably similar to when you watch reality television, of like, it's not real, but it is fun, and that has a lot of drama, and that's the reason why. And with the optimization of his videos and all that stuff, the thumbnails, whatever, these are the reasons why he's so successful. And most of the content was harmless, and also a good chunk of the content was, we're building wells in Africa, and we're curing kids, of diseases, and we're feeding hungry people and whatever. And it's like, you know what? This, maybe this isn't educational, but it's fun, and it feels positive. And they don't curse, they don't talk about like sexual explicit things on the channel, because they know that their audience is primarily children. So as the kids were like, "Oh, MrBeast, can I watch MrBeast?" We were like, "Yeah, all right, cool." And now MrBeast has become, I don't want to say an institution, but a habit. A sort of, hey, let's eat breakfast 20 minutes before it's time for school or camp. You can watch, a MrBeast video on your way out the door. and they just pull up the channel or they type MrBeast and then they click on the thumbnail with the craziest like face and they watch a MrBeast video. And so that's been part of our routine for the last couple months. And then as the allegations have been coming out, I've been second and triple guessing. Does this have a place in our household, in our kids' lives, while these things are shaking out? So I want to break it down briefly, which is that it seems to have been like a 3-step thing that started to snowball. One of the crew of MrBeast, her name is Ava Tyson. She is a trans woman. Her previous name was Chris, and so most of the videos feature Chris as identifying as male. Doing reaction videos and doing challenges and hanging out with MrBeast, who is Jimmy Donaldson by name. But Ava transitioned, and I think and came out publicly. And MrBeast and the company and the team supported her, and she became arguably the most visible trans person, certainly on the internet and certainly in the media diet of millions, perhaps billions of kids and teenagers. And so to have her be out front and be part of that community, I didn't realize how impactful and positive that was until some serious allegations about Ava's messaging with members of the MrBeast community, specifically an underage moderator of one of their Discord channels, talking about allegedly, all this is alleged, sexually inappropriate things, sending nudes to each other. Sounds like some of this was like joking, but then also allegations that it was maybe not. And either way, that's not going to fly, probably not legal. And so what happened there is that I think Ava probably denied that publicly. MrBeast publicly distanced himself from her, and she quit the channel and basically went offline, and so those investigations are ongoing. That has no impact. I think MrBeast and co handled it correctly of like, this is not about her gender identity. It's about inappropriate behavior. And if these allegations turn out to be true, we can't work with her. And so that all made sense. And our kids are completely oblivious to this. Our kids do not operate within the community. They watch the videos from a not logged in YouTube account. They do not comment. They probably don't even know what Discord is. So as far as we're concerned, we have no concerns about like inappropriate things or predation or whatever behavior. We're not there yet on the internet with our kids. So that was alarming, but ultimately had no bearing on my perception of the channel and the content. From there, a former employee who goes by the YouTube name Dogpack404, apparently this person may have worked for MrBeast for like a month and then left or was fired, unclear. But he created a video that now has like 10 million views, maybe more, claiming that many of the MrBeast videos are faked, that the contests are rigged, and that by the letter of the law, a lot of these giveaways and contests are illegal lotteries, which theoretically could be illegal against the statutes of various states and counties, whatever. And more nefariously, he's alleging that and also these illegal lotteries are clearly targeting children. I watched some of this video. I watched a good amount of analysis of the video. Again, Taylor Lorenz, who does the Power User podcast, brought on a journalist from Rolling Stone who had been covering MrBeast for years and kind of poking holes in his credibility for a little while, and only just now, with all these kind of scandals breaking, have they been has the wider internet been taking this stuff more seriously, right? So it's a great episode. I also watched some legal analysis of the lottery stuff, and it's not entirely clear if the lotteries are illegal. I think the issue is like if people have to pay to enter and then there is a cash prize, then that is a lottery and not a sweepstakes. A sweepstakes is, hey, no purchase necessary. Here's how to enter for free, and the winner will be drawn at random, I think, is part of the lottery thing. So it's like if you have to pay to enter and it's a random draw, then it's a lottery, and only governments can run lotteries in the US. Lotteries must benefit schools or social programs. You cannot run a lottery. You can run a sweepstakes. So, is this running afoul of the law? Even if it is, I don't know. They can probably fix that and apologize and do better with contests in the future. I'm not sure. But and then alleging that even the visual effects in the videos, like various explosions and extreme stunts, or whatever, that they are faked, and that the games are rigged. That is also very disappointing. It's like there's two parts of that. It's like I said, everything we watch on game shows and television are scripted and produced and edited in ways that are misleading at best, dishonest at worst, breaking the law. I don't know. Game shows have been through the ringer and have had to get their shit together after, game shows used to be like rigged in the 50s and 60s. And then they had congressional inquiries of like, you can't say that the game is fair and then rig the game. But these laws, as I understand them, do not apply to the internet. They only apply to broadcasters. So whether there is whether these things break the law is unclear. They probably don't. But do I feel gross when my kids watch a MrBeast challenge that they're like, I can't believe what's going to happen. Who's going to win it? And this is so cool. And oh my God, I can't believe it. And to then know or speculate that all of that / most of it is bullshit, or that the person receiving the prize is not a lucky fan, but actually like an employee of MrBeast who is just getting that money. That sucks and feels bad. I liken it like this. If we all agree that watching the Kardashians is fake, but we as adults understand that and still enjoy watching it, there's a social contract there. We're all good. But if dumb kids, and I say that with love and respect, if my dumb children click on a video that's like, who's going to win? And then the contest is rigged, it feels dishonest and it feels bad. So that gives me pause. Again, these are all allegations. They are not, none of this has been proven or confirmed or whatever, but it's a lot of stuff piling up. And then the third thing that you probably saw, as I don't know, I don't remember if I've talked about it here or elsewhere, but MrBeast got a deal with Amazon Prime or Amazon Video, whatever, to create essentially the biggest game show of all time for the streaming service. This would be reportedly like $100 million budget. So that probably went to the production of the show and the prize money and paying MrBeast and co. So it was a big fucking deal. It was a big moment for like the biggest influencer on the internet to cross over and get like this monster deal from a huge company streamer, Amazon, right? It's a big moment for creator culture. So they started production on this epic game show, which was purportedly going to be giving away the biggest prizes in game show history. So like this would blow the Who Wants to Be a Millionaires and Jeopardy's like out of the water. Their prizes would be exponentially higher, and that would be the excitement and the draw of the contest. There have been a lot of allegations coming out of the production claiming that the conditions on the sets of the show were very extreme and very harmful to the participants, but then also allegations of like not just like, hey, try these challenges and they're very hard, but like also like withholding medication from contestants when they needed it, withholding sanitary supplies and underwear from contestants when they should be getting, like, hey, you're doing a challenge and it's really hard, but like you should be able to change your underwear. Like, a lot of the conjecture is like, what did people knowingly sign up for? What is in the contracts? Did you know that you could be stressed, harmed, injured, or was this misleading? Was this surprising to contestants? And in the wake of those allegations, other YouTubers and other contestants have said, yeah, I worked with MrBeast and co. I worked on this or I worked on that. And it sucked. And prize money was not given to the correct people. Conditions were very hard. The rules of the game were changed midway through, and the production was very dishonest with me. So, will this stuff become criminally or civilly liable? Maybe. Were laws broken? Maybe. Maybe not. But all together, with the Ava Tyson stuff notwithstanding, I'm putting that in a separate bucket here for sure. The whole thing feels bad. So from an audience perspective, the empire, this empire that he's built is starting to show cracks. Will his bottom line suffer? Maybe a little bit if more allegations keep snowballing and the PR gets really, really bad. Maybe. But are 90% of the, again, I say this with love, dumb children who just click on the next video because it's a crazy thumbnail, are they going to stop watching MrBeast? Are they going to stop buying his candy bars and his action figures? Are parents who do not give a shit about this, who just want their kids to get away from them, myself included, and watch some YouTube, will they be aware of this enough to say, maybe we shouldn't watch MrBeast? When the controversies around Michael Jackson have been around for some time, but as they became crystallized in the last 5 years or so, I just don't know if enough normal everyday people, when a Michael Jackson song comes on the stream, the Spotify's or the radio, they're like, hey, I love this song. And kids love it's like, I'm sorry. I regret to inform you, Michael Jackson is one of the most, is a genius. He was a genius of the 20th century. Some of the best music ever composed and produced. And also probably molested and raped children. But again, his estate is doing just fine, I assume. And when the music comes on in mixed company, I'm not going to be like, oh, sorry, everyone, we don't listen to Michael Jackson anymore because he may have been a pedophile. It just doesn't make its way into everyday life, for lack of a better word. So you look, these allegations are not as extreme as that, hopefully, but, whatever. But I guess my point and my question is like, I feel icky letting the kids watch MrBeast, given all the uncertainty around the allegations. And even I'm not sure what to do with that. So normal people who are not, clinically insane the way I am and the way you are listening to this, certainly don't know what to do, what to do with this information, if they even know it at all. So I pose that question to you. For me, for right now, it's going to be a wait and see. I'll continue following the story. I will politely be nudging my children away from the MrBeast channel and say, hey, check out this other channel that also does similar videos. They watch educational science content. They love that stuff, but sometimes they just want to be entertained with dumb fun. They just want to watch a dumb Minecraft video. They just want to watch a stupid challenge, make me laugh reaction video. And I get it. It's fine. But I want to find other YouTubers who do it in a family-friendly way, who are appropriate for kids, who may or may not have the baggage and the allegations that the MrBeast crew have. If you know anyone like that, please get at me by email, Discord, Patreon, Twitter, all the places. If you're a parent and your kids watch YouTube and some of it's great and some of it's not so great, let me know. Let me know what's good. Because I know I can find educational and informational content for kids of all ages, 0 to 99. I can get you that stuff all day long. And I give it to my kids all day long, much to their dismay. But the fun stuff, all the fun stuff I watch and listen to has expletives, humor that would not be appropriate for my children. They're getting closer, though. Get at me with recommendations and let me know if you care about this. If you're not a parent and you don't give a shit about MrBeast, then just grab the popcorn and watch it unfold. Like, it's a fascinating moment for creator culture. And I'm jealous of you if you have no horse, no stake in this game. But we're mulling it over. We're thinking about it. So, as I said, send in your questions about, the potential for privacy legislation and mental health legislation for minors. COSA, COPPA 2.0, they're dead, but will they be resurrected in some new form? Should we be championing some other version of this? What kinds of questions are you interested in learning about from an expert like Paul Singer, who is an attorney who advises on this sort of legislation in the tech space? Let me know that. Also, if you're wondering how blind people play video games, and I sure am, I think it rules that they get to play with us. Get at me. If you have a visually impaired person in your life and you are amazed by how they get through their day and live their life and become part of the same community that we know and love, I would like to hear about that too. All the links to all the places are in the show notes and video description down below. And I hope that you are enjoying your summer. And I hope that if you do have kids, you're getting them packed up and ready to get back to school. Perhaps where you live, the school has already started. And to that, I say Godspeed. For now, I wish you farewell. And I'll be back next week with a full episode that you're not going to want to miss. Thank you to the supporters on Patreon. Thanks to everyone who likes and subscribes. And I will talk at you in 1 week's time.